Good morning. It's day 2. Just woke up at about 5:45. Had an okay night's sleep. First night on the Z Rest. I switched it over from the Neo Air because I just didn't like the crinkly side of the Neo Air, and I don't normally need huge amounts of padding since given my back, I sleep on a pretty hard mattress anyway, and I tend to splay around a lot, so I didn't like being the 1.5 inches off the ground. I wanted something closer to the ground. Plus, I love having the Z-Rest during the day where I can just like lie on it, throw it on the ground and lie on it. So it was fine last night. Slept okay. No grizzly bears as far as I can tell. So all in all, good first night. Here's this morning's breakfast. Hot granola with blueberries. So I just warm up some water, add powdered milk, freeze-dried blueberries with Costco granola. And it's really hitting the spot. Well, not the best campsite I've ever had. A little bit of a slope. I had the feeling if I'd, as always, if I'd walked down to Two Bridges River, there probably would have been better sights, but at some point you just got to commit. Of course, 0.2 of a mile down the road, perfect campsite, right by water. So I'm sensing this is what it's going to be like hiking in the Bob. Kind of a lot of Jeep trail, single track, mixed meadow and pine, mountains in distance. Beautiful. Okay, river crossing number 2. Let's see what it's like. So the trail goes over there. It's somewhat deep. All right, let's try the reverse angle. Try not to look at the camera so I don't lose my footing here. All right, nice crossing. Wet feet. All right, cruising along the Two Bridges alternate on day 2. Thought I'd give some perspective on why I'm vlogging. You know, I think there are a lot of people who are more sophisticated with their camera technique, or are better looking, or are hiking tougher trails and so on. So, you know, why should I blog? Because there's tons and tons of blogs on people doing through hikes and so on. I thought maybe one perspective that I had that might be unique is I hiked the Appalachian Trail in 81, the Pacific Crest Trail in 84, and almost all of the CDT, as I mentioned earlier, in 86. So I've seen the historical perspective on how through hiking has evolved and how it's changed. It's interesting thinking about what I'm doing now versus what I did back then. I'm almost like the polar opposite.
You know, back then I was super athletic, could do anything, bomb knees. You know, right now between my back and my knees and so on, much more limited. Big difference between when you're 60 and when you're 20 in terms of what you can do. You know, before I was going out for months at a time. Now I'm only going out for a couple weeks at a time. And, you know, that's much more difficult because, you know, the first 2 weeks are the toughest weeks on the trail. You're getting in shape, you're not sleeping well. So you're almost, if you go on a 2-week trip, you're almost getting the, you know, worst of the experience before you, and then you get off right before the best of the experience is happening. But I think, you know, throughout these logs, I'll try to both, you know, document my hike, but also maybe contrast what it was like doing similar things 35 years ago. You can see this whole area obviously got hit by a forest fire, which is why I'm taking the alternate. The main trail goes way up there along that ridge, and you can see all the trees were burned, and so there are a billion blowdowns, because once the trees burn, then the next step is they fall down. So I'm instead following the alternate, which is lower down, goes along the river. It's where the horse packers take. So because it's by the river, it's pretty flat, easy cruisy hiking, which, given it's a long carry to Benchmark Ranch, and I'm just getting into it, I'm not going to feel guilty about it. So it's just nice early morning walking. I'm trying to get as much in as possible. I think it's around 7:30 right now, and it's supposed to be a really hot day, so I'm trying to get a bunch in early in the morning, and then that way during the hottest part of the day I can eat lunch and relax, assuming I keep pace up. You can see just the blowdowns from the fire all along the ridge there. Wow. Meanwhile, we're just walking from river crossing to river crossing. I think we've crossed 6 or 8 times so far, and I think we've got a few more to go. Heading down into this beautiful meadow. Forest fire effect. It's like we're walking through Mordor. Enjoying a little lunch on the Badger Creek alternative. So went past the Badger Ranger Station, and there the trail splits, and you can either go 7 miles climbing the hill kind of in the back of me. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's basically the hill back there. Or you can take this route, which is less used, but much flatter and about 3 miles shorter. So again, just being not sure how strong I am and how I'm going to handle things. I'm being conservative and taking the easier route. And we'll see what happens. Found a nice spot here, not too many bugs. We're walking down the creek side, so plenty of water. So, you know, it's a little warm, but really not too bad other than that. Okay, well, step one, as always, got lost. It turns out there were two trails leaving from a very similar place, and I chose the wrong one. So I'm like 2 miles down, and I was wondering why I couldn't find myself on the GPS on Guthook, and I realized I was like way off screen. So the good news is I think there's a trail here that I can cut down on. Okay, so I was trying to take Badger Trail from here down to here, but instead, see, starting right here, you have this trail, and I ended up on that. So I'm right here, but I think I can cut down here and then cut down to the CDT there. So trail looks rough, but I don't know if I'll lose any mileage. So as you can see, not exactly maintained at the level that the CDT is, since these things are rarely used here deep into the Bob Marshall. But I'm assuming every once in a while they clear the blowdown. So I'll just keep, what I always do is you can faintly see the tread, and then you look for occasional logs that were sawn, and then you know that you're on the trail because they've maintained it. Well, cruising down the Badger Trail, which is the way to get back to the CDT. It's not that heavily used, as you can see, so it's been kind of slow going. Hard to follow, a little brutal, so bit of adventure, but and longer than I thought. I was higher up than I thought, so further to come down, but we're slowly getting there. Okay, well, day 2 completed. Quite an exciting day. So basically, I took a complete wrong turn around Badger Ranger Station. Rookie mistake, although I guess second day after 35 years, I am a rookie, so understandable. Good news is, I mean, thank God I figured out that something was off when I was looking at the signs. I just didn't feel right. And I thought the GPS on the phone had just stopped working, but when I finally zoomed out, I realized it was blinking like way down in the wrong direction. But because I brought paper maps, as opposed to just depending on Guthook, I had the trail system of the area, and I saw I could kind of cut directly over to the CDT without doubling back. Now, the bad news was most of those trails are very rarely used. So they were completely overgrown, very hard to follow, very slow. But, I did about 8 miles of that, and ended up doing about 20 miles overall, ended up way ahead of where I'm supposed to be. So I guess it turned out okay, despite my mistakes. Good lesson learned in bringing paper maps of a bigger area than the one you think you're going to be in. Thank God for GPS, because the big challenge is always trying to figure out where you are once you've made a wrong turn. I mean, worst case, I would have doubled back, and it probably would have taken about the same amount of time since the trail had been better. But I'd already gone like 3 miles or so, so I figured I'd rather try something which didn't keep me from doubling back. So, grand adventure continues. Other than that, hiked until about 7 or so. So basically, I was on the road for 11 hours. Only really took a lunch break. Other than that, not too many long stops. But it should get easier now that I'm on the CDT pretty steadily, although I think I'm going to take the Spotted Bear alternate, and there's supposed to be a lot of blowdowns on that, but it is supposed to be more scenic. Freeze-dried lasagna for dinner. Finally getting to the stage where I think everything's going to fit inside the Ursack tomorrow. And I'm camping someplace where someone 3 weeks ago said they saw a bobcat walking 6 feet from the campsite. So we'll see. Better a bobcat than a bear. I don't think a bobcat's got the ability to reach up and grab my food. All right, that's it. Gonna chill and take advantage of the last 30 minutes before it gets dark, and do it all again tomorrow.